Chris Boyd's head of U.S. federal sales for Zoom. Welcome, Chris. It's good to see you. What's the industry perspective on supporting the digitization, modernization efforts that the sea service, especially Navy and Marine Corps, are talking about here?
Yeah, I think a lot of what we see is a lot of legacy technology where there's a lot of technical debt. Largely what we see are industry, across the industry and really across DOW, are legacy systems, and they're trying to figure out how they get from where they are to where they're trying to go from an innovation perspective. The trick is, how do you do that without making such a heavy investment in the middle so you can continue to innovate? And I think that's one of the things that we've been trying to focus on with Zoom. Historically, we've been seen as a meeting company, and we're moving more into the telephony space and getting around how we can answer TDM problems. So you've got aging telephone systems and telephony systems that are on a lot of post camps and stations, especially around the Marine Corps and Navy, and trying to figure out how we help them solve that problem of getting from where they are to where they're trying to go. They got to get off of those legacy systems. And how do we do that? You can do that with Zoom.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways that organizations are trying to crack that nut. What are the best ways to evaluate where they are and what they have to know how to build that plan to get to what the end state they?
Yeah, I think the end state ideally for the government seems to be, especially for Department of War and specifically Navy and Marine Corps, is really how do you get to a hybrid cloud and what technology enables that? And so I think what you're trying to leverage is existing investments that you already have without throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So I've got to take what I have, figure out how to innovate it. And as you move through that path, we can figure out a way to give you that true hybrid technology while integrating with the existing systems. Microsoft Teams is obviously out there. It's a big player. We can integrate with Microsoft Teams. We can integrate with existing CRM systems. We can integrate across all the different platforms. So your protection, investment protection is there, but we can also work through that innovation path with you.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like, a wise way to approach it, because the Navy has been pretty outspoken about how proud it is of flank speed and what it accomplished through flank speed. And it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Exactly.
But at the same time, the needs that the service has 5 years from now, 10 years from now, will probably be completely different than what it needs today, or what it needs when it needed when it conceived flank speed.
Absolutely. I think that's always the challenge in Department of War and government in general, federal agencies. The budgeting cycles, what you're spending today was budgeted 4 or 5 years ago. And I think trying to get ahead of that curve, and you're trying to see over that horizon, just making those small incremental investments. You can't jump from 1985 to 2026 and do that without making that incremental step. And I think trying to time that incremental step and not make it so investment heavy that you can see over that horizon without having to be at the tip of the spear and make a bad decision that potentially could be detrimental in the long term. You don't want to engineer yourself into a corner.
You mentioned, you made a comment at the beginning that I think is interesting. You talked about not investing too much in that middle ground between where you are today and where you ultimately want to go. How do you determine what the balance is on what you want to spend in the middle? Because you need to do something. You need to continue to improve and iterate, but without going overboard and locking yourself into something that's not going to help you long term.
Well, I think the government's doing it now. I think that they're consolidating their buying power, right? So they're bringing everything to the enterprise level. They're leveraging the fact that they're going to be buying at an enterprise speed and scale, which sometimes is that's a double-edged sword because they don't move quickly. But I think as you look around kind of how they're doing that consolidation, they're reducing their IT sprawl. So by reducing the IT sprawl, leveraging their buying power and bringing everything to an enterprise solution, you don't have those sort of shadow IT elements that are out there, and you can continue to innovate from there. It's really hard to innovate when not everyone's rowing the same direction.
Yeah, shadow IT is a term I haven't heard for a while. That's probably a good thing, because well, maybe not. Maybe it means people are getting better at hiding it than they used to be. But is that an issue that becomes less and less necessary as organizations get a better enterprise view of what's going on?
I think it does and it doesn't. I think it kind of depends on whether or not you have a pace plan or some sort of alternative path. If your primary option is down or it's not available, where do I go? I think at the same time, Marine Corps and Navy presents a unique tactical challenge when it comes to how do you got a lot of disparate systems that are out there. They're on ships, they're in really bandwidth challenged areas, and trying to get good communications and reliable communications to that level is really hard. So